And we're live.
And we're live. Here we are.
Good morning. You can't really... No, there we are. The camera's in a better position.
Come on. Yeah.
Okay, good morning. I should probably...
Oh, you're the host now.
I'm the host today. Yesterday, Matthew was host. So we did a live stream yesterday. We're in Essen. We're not at the Spiel convention yet. We're in Matthew's hotel room. But we did a live stream yesterday morning talking about the day one. So we had day two yesterday. And we're going to do a little bit of a debrief on that. We haven't actually debriefed before this, so it's
got to keep
we're
it
winging
for camera,
it a little bit, aren't we?
Yeah.
So this is Matthew Dunstan. Matthew, you probably know Matthew from his own channel. So Matthew also has a YouTube channel where he talks about board game design. Matthew is also a very prolific designer. Has far more games than me, although we've been designing games for a similar number of years, haven't we? And we've known each other all those years. 11, 12 years, something like that. But Matthew designed the adventure game series for Cosmos and Echoes for Ravensburger and Next Station for Blue Orange and Relic Runners and Elysium and so many more. Pioneer Days is one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you. It's coming back.
Pioneer Days. Is it?
It's going to be republished.
I heard it was going to come back. Who's
with
it
an expansion? Or
can you not say?
I don't think it's a huge secret, but. No, he said, yeah, so it's with a company called Fantasy Games, which is a newish publisher in France. So they were the original French localizers of Pioneer Days.
Okay.
And they really like it. And
Great.
So they're going to, it's at some point, it'll be republished with an expansion.
Yeah, you had an expansion ready for the previous version, didn't you?
Yeah,
I remember you talking about that. Great, yeah, it's a good game.
You got it here, Scoop.
Yeah, lovely. So, so we're just going to talk about what our day was like yesterday. I don't know if anybody's watching. If you're not, I'm sure you can catch up with us later. You can watch it later on.
If you're not, then you don't know that you're not watching because you're.
They'll find it later, I'm sure. So yeah, how was your day yesterday?
It was good. It was good. I thankfully did not have to go into Hall 3 at all. So for those, if you've never been to Spiel, there's the convention center is made up of 7 or 8 large halls, and they use 7 of them. And this year, actually, they added a hall, I'm pretty sure, because I think Hall 7 is sort of new.
They're all full, yeah.
Yeah. And Hall 3 is where most of the kind of hobby publishers that you would think. So you've got Pegasus there, you've got Czech Games Edition, you've got a lot of the the bigger Kickstarter publishers, Mighty Boards and no.
Mighty Boards are in
there. Yeah, Michael. I mean, it's full. It's the largest hall, I think, actually, probably.
Do you think? I feel like they're all similar size. It's just that one's rammed with people. So it feels
it's also very narrow and long. So you've got to. But anyway, and it was. I think it was clearly agreed upon that it was the worst hall to be in.
And yet, that's where all 3 of my games are. So Gerhardt Spiel are in there, and Mind Clash is in there, and Osprey games are in there. So yeah, getting between my releases is quite hard going.
So it was a bit of a harder trek for you yesterday through the halls.
Well, I mean, it's nice they're all in the same place, so that I can, I'm not having to go back and forth too much, but it is it's hard getting through the crowds in that one.
But despite that, it was actually a really nice day. I had a few pitches which went well, and I'm only pitching 1 game, so it's a little bit easier for me this year. Not too much to kind of focus on.
What sort of game is it?
It is a multi-use card game.
Okay, multi.
No, well, it's a slight exaggeration.
Are they hexagonal cards?
No.
That's
an idea. Well, it's a bit hard to shuffle. No, they are double-sided cards where every side, back and front, are unique, and you use the backs of the cards, which are islands, to every game you randomly select 15 of them and make a board. Which is sort of an archipelago that all the players are going to play on. And of course, all the islands have different effects and sort of thing. And then during the game, you use the other side of the card, which is sort of crew that you can put in your ship, or they're goods that you can sell and load. Okay. And it's kind of your typical, engine building combo kind of game. Pretty quick, pretty fast, and obviously lots of variety from this sort of random setup every game. And it's probably one of the games I like the most of my designs for quite a while. Not that I hate my previous games, but this one is like really the type of game I really enjoy. Race for the Galaxy is one of my favorite games, and it's probably getting a lot closer to that kind of style of thing. So
good.
So yeah, no, it's been good to pitch that, and I also had the chance to catch up with some friends, who you don't get to see. So like Amanda Panda, who is the newest. She isn't new, but she's just taken over the Board Game Geek vlog or blog. Sorry, I forgot that wrong. That Candace Owens used to do.
Okay.
So Amanda's doing that now, and I've been on her stream a bit before, but she's from the States, so it was really great to catch up with her, and yeah, just generally see some friends. And I left the Messe for lunch, which is a new initiative for me this year. I went outside for a whole 2 hours.
Oh gosh, okay.
It was very nice. I can recommend if you.
I didn't do that. I queued at one of the food trucks in the busy Galleria.
Was the food good?
It was nice, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
It was good. I think they've got more choice.
And you're also outside. It should be clear. Like
I wasn't outside. I was in the
food truck
gallery bit. Yeah, there are lots of food trucks outside now. That didn't used to be the case. It's got better, I think.
Yeah, it's expanded. It's expanded. So how was your day then, Adam?
Yeah, it was good. I had 4 pitch meetings. I spent an hour or so demoing Flip Pick Towers with Osprey.
Oh, it looks amazing, by the way. I saw it in the case at Osprey,
Yeah, it does. It's really nice. Yeah, they've done a lovely job of it, and the artist is great, Beatrix Papp. She's really good. It's so much fun to demo that game. It's just playing it with people, and every time you flip over cards, and then you pick one of the cards, and then you draw towers. That's why it's Flip Pick Towers. But every time you flip over the cards, you're kind of revealing new stuff. And because it's like this fairy tale world, suddenly a fairy pops up, or a witch pops up, or a dragon pops up, and there's, what do we do with this? How does that work? Or you put a roof pops up to put onto your towers, or a bridge. Or how do we use bridges? It's just everything's a new reveal, certainly in that first game. And so it's just really fun to demo, really.
It sounds like a game that you can also learn kind of while playing.
Yeah, definitely. You can learn it while you're playing it, and then you're drawing these towers, and they're really easy to draw, but they look quite nice at the end, because basically a tower, it's just a series of squares, isn't it, on top of each other, and a little triangle at the top for the roof.
Don't break the dream for everyone.
But it ends up looking really nice, and if you're more artistic, you can make it all the more sort of lavish, So, people were talking to me, comparing it to like cartographers, where you can make those really sort of artistic things. And that was a big inspiration for it. So, yeah, that was really fun to demo. And I got a good engaged group with that. And then I spent an hour or so at the Gerhard Spiel booth with Surikata.
I heard you were defacing a lot of boards.
Defacing a lot of boards. That was amazing to me. These boards the games that Gerhard Spiel make, they're so beautifully made, these beautiful handcrafted wooden boards, and they're quite an investment as well, really. And yet people were asking me to write on them with marker pen, write my signature on the back of them and things. Something I wouldn't write on marker pen on one of these if I was you, but if that makes them happy, I'm very happy to do it.
I think I was suggesting later that night that you should be a pyrographer and use the kind of burning on the wood, and do your signature that way.
That's right. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be fancy.
But you'd only be able to make games out of wood then. That's a tricky thing.
Yeah. You don't want to do it in a cardboard box. No, that's true.
And you don't have a game anymore, but that's
yeah. My favorite moment yesterday was there was this really, really nice guy who came over, and he was a fan of the channel. He was talking to me, and so we were talking about Flip Big Towers, and we spoke for quite a long time. And then he said, "Oh, I've got something for you to sign," and he pulled out this it was a bit from Throne, my game Throne, and it was a flimsy bit of paper from the base of the insert, like the worst component of any of my games.
Was it specifically chosen to be the worst?
I don't know, but I sort of he said, "Could you sign this for my friend?" So I signed the back of it, a nice message for him, and then he said, "Yeah, we played Throne the other day. We didn't like it." I said, "Well, you're not the only one." But I just thought it was a funny sort of opening. And you signed my game, I didn't like it.
And so now you've signed it, and what are they going to do with it? This game they don't like.
Presumably, it makes it more valuable.
Well, maybe, or maybe less valuable. I don't know. It's like you've got the one that's.
I don't know. I think it was a genuine. This is a nice thing to have a signature on a piece from it. But it was funny that
it's very direct.
The worst component from my least popular game.
But But do you still like the game, you think, Throne? Have you played it recently?
I really like it. I haven't played it recently. I really like it personally. But I have a feeling it's only fun if I'm playing it. I think probably because I'm enjoying it. Maybe that
It's
lifts other
infectious,
people.
yeah.
But yeah, somebody's commented. Hello. So this is Survivor's Quest. Hoping to run into you at the con today. Well, good. If you do, please say hello. Yeah, I've really enjoyed. Lots of people said hello to me yesterday. That was really nice. And most of them designers. A lot of them new designers, like people who've got their first game just coming out, or they've just licensed their first game. They're waiting for it to come out, and talking to me about the channel and how it's been helpful for them and things like that. So that's really nice. You know.
Yeah, you don't get that kind of face-to-face feedback very much on this kind of thing. So.
No, absolutely. I get nice comments, of course, on the videos and stuff like that, but you don't see the person and meet them face-to-face.
I had actually a really nice meeting. I sat with a viewer on my channel who just reached out and said, are you going to be at Essen? And we just sat and chatted about game design, and he's pitching his first games. He's actually from the video game industry and kind of making games in the tabletop space as well. And that was just it was just also really nice. Kind of it's I think that design, and I think both of what we do, we got to where we were on the back of other people helping us out or giving us advice or contacts or whatever, and it's nice to be part of the cycle again.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in the UK particularly, there's that nice playtest network, which pretty much all the designers come through. There's very few UK designers who haven't come through that playtest UK network, because there's different groups in different cities around the country. And it's kind of an ethos that's built into that, I suppose, really, isn't it? To help everybody else out, and then the people who've got a little bit more experience kind of share that experience, and other people come up through that group. I think actually that does seem to be a global sort of attitude as well, though. I don't think that's unique to the UK, but it does make you feel a bit responsible to do the same, when you've gone through that. I remember one of my very first games. I had a game called Sunburn. It was which sounds like it's set on a beach, but it's not. It's in space, and you're using sun.
It should be called Solar Burn then.
It's not as catchy, is it?
Sunburn. It's a bit more spacey though.
It is a bit more, yeah. So, but you're placing planets, and then if you place suns next to them, then populations grow on these planets, but you don't want to overpopulate them and so on. But I played it with you. It was obviously very memorable.
I can't remember it at all.
It was the first time I met you, so it was probably.
I hope I was nice about it.
Probably 2012, 2013, something.
Wow.
Like
okay,
that.
you remember. So, what was my? Was I nice about it?
Yeah, you had some criticisms, but you weren't nice.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought you were going to reveal, and this was the day I decided that you were a twat.
No, you were very nice about it. I think I also played it with Brett at some point. I'm not sure he was quite as nice.
It's a bit more direct.
Brett Gilbert.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very direct when he playtests games. It's very useful though, very insightful feedback, but it can be quite cutting straight through to cut out the rubbish. Right, we're getting straight to the point.
Yeah.
So. I remember playing that with you and you giving me feedback on that. I think you'd probably signed Relic Runners, or Relic Runners had just come out at that point.
Maybe.
So you were fairly new, and I think Brett had just got.
Yeah, I mean, he'd only had Divinare. Yeah, so we
yeah.
each had maybe had a game each, and I hadn't even really maybe pitched to many publishers or anything like that, because Relic Runners was signed without me pitching it. So yeah, exactly. I had a tiny little bit of experience, but not really anything much. And I'd made one game that I'd finished, so it's not like I'd sort of had so much experience making a whole bunch of things.
It was funny, that game. I remember pitching Sunburn around to some publishers, probably about 2014, 2015, and all the publishers were just saying, no, you can't make a Euro game set in space. Like, it's not in the Euro sort of world, it doesn't happen. And then of course Terraforming Mars came out a few years later, and now there's just loads of Euro games set in space.
Well, of course SETI as well as another kind of
tentpole but at the time there was this kind of groupthink that it wasn't possible. It just would not sell in Europe as a European space game. So it's interesting how that groupthink sort of works. Like, I bought yesterday a football game, like a soccer game, and again there's this sort of idea that you cannot make a sports game. They do not sell and so on, and most of the publishers won't look at a sports game, won't consider it. And I do just wonder if at some point that'll change, because there must be a massive crossover of those fans. And I just think maybe it's a bit of groupthink in the industry. You've made a football game before.
I have.
Soccer game.
Yeah, exactly. Fußball Duel. It only came out in German. But no, I quite liked it. Although I have to admit, I don't know whether we were the best. I mean, I think we delivered a great product, but neither, it was designed by Brett and myself, and neither I or Brett are particular football fans. I mean, I know how it works. I can't speak for Brett, but yeah, I think if you get the crossover also of a designer who's really into because I think you get so much if you're designing about a topic or a theme that you are yourself are so into as well, and you can bring that into the design and know which bits that you want to explore and highlight. So yeah, well, actually, the football game looked quite good though. What do you know what it was called?
I think it was the Magic 11 or the Magic number 11, something like that. It was from Plater. We were talking about Plater yesterday, weren't we? If you haven't watched yesterday's live stream, right, it's on Matthew's channel.
There's a link
channel.
to it below. Yeah.
And we talked about quite a lot yesterday, didn't we, about how Essen works and what sort of things we were going to be doing and our past experiences at Essen and things like that. And we'll probably do another live stream tomorrow, I would imagine. Assuming that we're happy with how this one went after today. But
what, did you play any games yesterday?
No.
No. Apart from demoing Euro games, of course. But
I don't think I did.
You did. Otherwise, okay. Not a memorable experience if you did. I didn't either. So yeah, for those who haven't been to Essen, it is not exactly a playing convention, really. You can demo games, and at some booths you can demo the whole game actually. So you could, but there's so many people that being able to, often you have to be able to queue up for a certain amount of time to. For
a big game, but for a little game, like I've only really been spending time in the sort of halls with a lot of the Asian games and games from smaller publishers, because I was trying to pick up things that I couldn't get at home. And there you can get a demo immediately and you can play a whole game.
That's true. Of course, a lot of games, yeah.
So I certainly got some games shown to me yesterday, I think, but I didn't sit down and actually play one from start to finish, I don't think.
And do you think you'll fit that in at some point, or are you more just pitching in?
Can't imagine I'll fit it in. I don't think so.
It's a sad part of getting as part of a designer as an industry. You slowly play less and less games.
I know. No, I don't think I'll fit it in. I'll buy some,
and
then I'll take them home, and then I might get around to playing them at some point. I would imagine.
Yeah, the shelf of opportunity. I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But no, it's and what kind of games? Which game do you think you're most excited, or that was doing the best in your pitching of yours?
Well, I'm only pitching 2.
Okay. Have you talked about them on your channel before?
I haven't. I don't talk about my games my prototype games quite as freely as some other designers. Like you just explained exactly what your game is, and so on. I'm always a little bit more cagey than that. I fully subscribe to that, like the idea that you should share your games,
like,
in the public.
You're not about to trademark it or something.
No, I'm not looking to patent and trademark and copyright and those sorts of things. But I also sort of feel like you only really need to share it when you need to, So like, I'm very happy to take them to playtest groups and playtest them with people at the UK Games Expo and this sort of thing. But I feel like there's no need to kind of tell the world what I'm working on. So like when Ember Heart came out, I'd been working on that for 10 years, and I'd shared a few sort of shots of the prototypes and things like that over the years, but I've never really talked about how it works or what it's all about or anything like that, other than saying I was working on a Euro game. Just because I think, although the risk is tiny, but I do think there's a risk of somebody going, oh, that's a good idea, and going with it. Not a publisher, but another designer or something like that. And probably the product they produce would be very, very different to anything you've made. So I think it's a minimal risk, but also just for the surprise of like revealing, oh, this is what I've been working on. I think it's nicer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's two things. One thing is that I made a video about games that I couldn't sell. I'm not sure if you saw it, where
no, I did
made details of so these were finished prototypes, but they hadn't been signed to a publisher, or in some cases they had been signed to a publisher and then hadn't been released. And interestingly, one reaction to that video is I had a publisher reach out, or a person from someone who worked at a publisher who said they were interested in one of the games, and they were going to. Unfortunately, then they promptly left the company about a month later. So nothing happened. So I mean, that's one instance where there was a tangible benefit to sharing. And that, that was a finished game that somebody could have gone off and, maybe reverse engineer. They weren't particularly complicated games.
Well, if anyone wants to make a Euro-style space game that Matthew Dunstan didn't particularly enjoy, get in touch.
And you could call it Solar Burn, so it won't be overlapping. No, but the other thing I was thinking, I get asked, I don't know if you get asked a lot on your channel, one thing that's been popping up quite frequently recently is that people want to see the kind of start to end process of making a game, like a real game, like one of my games, effectively.
Yeah.
And obviously to do that would require being pretty much open about everything about is it something you've ever thought of doing, or you've heard people ask for? Or
I think people probably have asked for it once or twice. I don't know. I don't think my process is that interesting on the minutiae of it at that granular level. Like, okay, it's good to look at the broad arc of like how a game went from this to this, but the individual decisions I make along the way, that a lot of them are pretty rotten decisions, and most of my games go nowhere. The vast majority of them, I start designing them, and then after a few playtests, I never do anything more with them. So that's not going to be fun watching, 4 or 5 videos of me making a game, and then we go, well, this is rubbish.
Well, it's interesting. Because I mentioned exactly the same thing. So this had happened. Some people have made this comment, and I actually made one video. I had a new idea about 2 weeks ago for a fairly simple dice game. And I thought, okay, this is not, I don't think I'd want to do something like this for a very complicated game, because it's just too much to explain. And so I thought, and I'd had one playtest of it, and it had actually gone quite well for a first playtest. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'll try and do this series where I, from go to woe of a game. And I recorded a video with the idea that I would kind of stitch them all together as maybe one long video or a few kind of compilations or something. And then I took it to a playtest the next day, and it was terrible.
Okay, yeah.
and then I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because my reaction to that playtest, it was so bad that it had the videos stuff not been happening, I would have just either binned it or like put it on the shelf and not had any plan to revisit it, as is quite normal.
Yeah.
But now the video thing, and I was like, oh gosh, have I wasted this time? And I mentioned it to somebody else, and they said, well, actually, it might actually be quite refreshing for people to see that even, I mean, not that we're hallowed game designers, but, game designers have had a lot of experience, still make stuff that's terrible.
Yeah.
Even when they think, I talk a lot about, filtering ideas and trying to figure out what's good before you work on them and all these sort of things. And even I still don't get that right. You think an idea is good and you put the time in to make a prototype, and then it does bomb. So I guess my point is that showing it, even though to us it feels very like, how could that possibly be interesting? I think it's something about reminding everyone that
I did show on one of my videos a few months ago, something like that, 2 prototypes that I'd made that I decided I wasn't going to pitch, even though I quite like the games. And I went into a lot of detail with those. One was like a chess type game, but it was basically chess, but you're using cubes that rotate as you play.
Okay.
So the chess pieces are constantly changing as you play, which I really enjoy it, but I couldn't really picture a home for it as a product, because I think chess variants are very hard to find an audience for. And the other one was which I really like the idea, but I couldn't quite get to work. It was a wrestling game using discs, and you're flicking the discs, and you've got different size discs for different wrestlers, and you've got different powers, which mean you have to flick them in different ways, and so on. And I really like that idea, but I couldn't really get it to work. So yeah, I think I made a video where I was talking about how you assess your prototypes and work out which ones are worth pitching and which ones are not worth pitching, and so on. And so that I use those 2 as examples.
Because those games were finished, so you could have pitched them potentially.
Well, they weren't finished, but I think they'd come to a resolution. I think I'd got to a point where I knew that, okay, these are probably going no further. So at this point, I feel like there's no harm in talking about, what I've done with them and so on.
What do you think your percentages are these days of sort of, if you start with, say, 100 ideas, and then how many, in terms of numbers, that corresponds to like a first prototype, to a well-iterated prototype, and to something that you pitch, do you think?
These days I have very few ideas because I play so many games.
So 10 ideas, I won't say 100.
So if I have I used to have loads of ideas because I was playing loads and loads of games. Now I don't have so many ideas. But when an idea comes, I suppose I only really indulge that idea if I see a product at the end of it. So I don't really make things just for fun anymore. I look at that initial idea and I think, is there a product at the end of this that could be something that a publisher would pick up, could be something that would be commercial, and so on. Now that's my own personal preference. I have absolute full respect for people who design for the pleasure of designing and make the things they want to make and so on. But I do look at it as a product from the very earliest stage. If I see promise at that early stage, then I would say the majority of them, I can probably get to the point where the majority is probably wrong, 50-50. Okay. I can probably get to a point where I'm happy eventually to pitch it. I
mean, that's pretty good. I mean, you don't think you're really, but you are filtering things at the idea stage. Because you're sure, if this can't make a product, I'm sure I can,
but most of them go no further than a few notes in. I write notes on my phone. If I wake up with an idea, that's often what happens. I wake up with an idea, I write it on my notes app, and then later on I look at it and just think, oh no, that's no good. But
speaking of ideas you get I'm not sure if I ever told this story, but I once had a dream that Antoine Bowser was explaining his latest game to me in a dream.
Okay.
And it turned out to be not like a new game. It was not something that existed.
Okay.
And I remembered enough of it in the morning. So I was like, oh, I've got a new game. Antoine Bowser. No, it wasn't good.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Antoine
really
betrayed me, but he
That's how my chess cubes game came about.
Oh. Was it also Antoine Bowser?
No, it wasn't. But I had a dream that I had seen a game at a convention. And I was like, this is an incredible idea in the dream. I can't believe, I wish I'd invented this. This is just the most amazing idea. And then I woke up and I thought, oh, that game doesn't exist. And I know all the rules. And, I just, made it, played it. It was really fun, but it is a chess variant. And so it's not really a goer.
Do you think you would ever just release the rules sort of publicly as a print and play sort of rule set or something?
Probably not. That just seems like a lot of effort, really. I'll probably at some point get around to actually showing it to a publisher. Not as the thing I'm meeting them for, but if I'm meeting them anyway, and just say, what do you think I could do with this? Can you think of anything I could do with this? Anybody I could show this to?
Oh, well, if any publishers are watching and you want a chess variant,
yeah.
Okay, and watch the video because you described the game in this previous video.
Yeah.
And we'll put a link below or something.
We've got some comments, haven't we?
Enjoy the Spiel. I'm going to play Emberheart this weekend. So someone's already got copies.
Great.
Somewhere else in the world.
Great. That's good to know.
Failed example seems like a good video content to do. Well, that could keep us both busy for a while, I guess, if you went back through your...
Oh, gosh. I don't even keep most of them.
No, I had to do a great purge when I moved back to Australia.
It took a lot of space.
Yeah. But it is interesting because I am happy that I've kept. So I have the original prototype of my first published game still.
Okay, yeah.
Or at least the not the very first, like the pitched prototype.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy I have that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I need to have it for all my games for posterity. Although I know, I was talking to Matt Leacock and he's donated a whole bunch of stuff to the Strong Museum of Play, the museum in, I think it's in Rochester maybe, that contains the Sid Saxon archives. And and of course that's kind of archival. I mean, I'm not, maybe it works for Matt because he's an important contributor to game design. We're just merely, will be forgotten in the annals of history probably.
Oh, come on.
But it is an interesting point. I also learned in that conversation, anyone out there might be interested, is that, do you try and keep a copy of each of your published games, like in shrink?
I have multiple, yeah.
Yeah, but so you kind of keep a few copies, you don't open them all up and...
No.
So I have the same. I try and keep at least one sealed copy of each of my games, sort of as a kind of archive thing. Apparently, that's actually not a very good idea because it's much better to take the shrink off because you're more likely to get mold and mildew if it's shrink wrapped.
I didn't know that.
So, and that came from the curator at the Strong Museum of Play.
Okay, well, I'll think about that.
And it's a much bigger problem in the UK, I think, although actually in Australia we have plenty of mold too.
I need to start getting rid of like because I keep multiple copies. I keep maybe 3 or 4 copies of each game, just in case I need them in the future to give to somebody. And I very rarely do end up, because I want to keep 3 or 4, and so like that becomes just like what I've kept. And some of the kids' games, I want to keep them for when Nico's older, so I can give them to his friends and things like that. Sorry, that's my baby. So I can give them to his friends and things. But that's going to be a few years of keeping, and they're big boxes. Things like Happy Hoppers is really big. That's for like 6-year-olds. And it's a really big box, and I've got to keep that for 5 years. And there's multiple copies just to give away at birthday parties.
Do you think, is the story going to be accompanied with, you're going to be like, oh, thank God I could get rid of this thing?
Yeah.
Do you know, Nick, how lucky you are that I kept this?
And I don't know how much the 6-year-olds really appreciate about. They're only going to trash it anyway, aren't they?
I think they would.
It is?
I think they'd appreciate it. Well, it's not meant to be precious, is it? It's a game that's going to be played by kids. Yeah. I can tell you. So I made a game, Bubble Stories, which you might know, which is ostensibly a 4+ game. But my daughter Zoe, who isn't 2 yet, has been playing it for quite a while. I mean, she doesn't play it right. It's just cards, and those cards are in a pretty bad state by now. But she loves it, and so.
Yeah,
I think she has no connection that it's my game, of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but or maybe she does. I'm not sure. I think they'll appreciate it. I think that will be a pretty nice.
My sister has been showing her 2-year-old recently the little trailer for Emberheart, because it's got like a little cartoon at the start of it, all about the dragons coming to the island and stuff. And she watched this over and over again, this trailer for this game. And my sister was saying to her, "Oh, your uncle Adam made this." And then a week or so later, she took her to the dentist, and she said, "Oh, your uncle Adam's a dentist." And my niece just looked at her and said, "Dragons? What are dragons? Surely that's what my uncle Adam does. Dragons, he's not a dentist."
Oh, that's very cute. I think that's a much better fantasy to have, that you fight dragons rather than you're a dentist. Not that there's anything wrong with dentists, of course. Matt's a fellow game designer from Australia, part of my playtesting, not my playtesting group, our playtesting group. In fact, Matt organises it. I don't have any published games, but I'd better take the shrink off my mini shelf of chain games then. I mean, I think this is probably on the time scale of years rather than, I don't know how long the games have been on the shelf of opportunity, but.
Do you ever keep any foreign editions of your games? I've got like 6 different language versions of Doodle Rush that I can't play them.
Yeah, because they're
Lithuanian, Latvian, Polish. I've got French. I can't play any of these. So, but I don't know why I've got them. They're quite big boxes. I've stopped asking publishers for them, because in the contract it says you get one copy of each international edition. Often that's in there. And I used to chase these down and say to the publisher, "Can I have it? Can I have it?" Because I always thought, "Oh, this is such a nice thing to have." But they take up so much space, and I can't do anything with them.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's a tough problem to have. But yes, I think early on, I was also the same, that I probably wanted a few. I remember actually there was a really beautiful. I had a game Fairy Tile from Yellow, which was a really beautiful box. And I remember I really wanted the Russian version of it, because the characters of Russian on that box looked amazing.
Okay.
I never got it, but I'm at the stage where, I have to. It's like this. Oh, woe is me! But I have a considerable number of games. Even keeping one copy or 2 copies. I have a garden shed, a reasonably large garden shed, and a good proportion of it are my games in shrink, either to keep as in an archive, or I have a whole bunch to give away. I go and grab whenever someone comes, or I give away
if
gifts.
I kept them in a garden shed, I'd definitely have them in shrink wrap.
Well, they're in boxes in a garden shed.
I suppose you're in Australia. It's not raining too much.
Oh yeah, no. It's watertight garden shed. I think garden shed in the UK is
garden shed in the UK is not where you're going to keep your board games.
It's a less like the standard of building, I think, is lower than in Australian garden sheds.
You barely call it a building, really.
Yeah, it's like a shack.
A shack. Yeah.
But I don't. But I have so many foreign language editions, especially the adventure games, actually, which are also completely unplayable because they're narrative books, effectively. And I remember posting on Twitter, I think, asking, like, "Did any Bulgarians want a copy of the game? I'll ship it to you in Bulgaria." Had no responses. So I think I'll just find some way to repurpose them, or mostly those games are all cardboard basics. So
yeah, you can often strip out the components for.
They're quite good
making
boxes,
other-
actually. Good size box, that kind of
Yeah.
exit size box for
Yeah,
prototype. But no, I haven't. I'm not at critical space issues, so I haven't had to kind of face this purge yet. But I have also started asking for fewer language edition copies. But of course, I have the problem sometimes some of my games don't come out in English now. So like some of the later Echoes games aren't being published in English anymore. So I have, I've got these games that I would like to have because I made them, but I can't play them. So it's a
We've probably got to check our privilege here a little bit.
Oh, no.
Talking about we've got published game, and I'm aware that lots of people who watch both our channels really are trying to get that first published game, trying to get that first licensed game, and here we are moaning about we've got too many.
I don't think we're moaning.
Like
I don't think we're moaning.
So,
it's just a practicality.
We're very fortunate to be in that position, aren't we?
Absolutely. No, it's been. Although moving your game collection, your own games or not, across the world is another is quite a task, which I had to do. So. But so what? Looking forward to today. What's on the books?
I've only got 3 meetings today, and same 2 games that I've been showing previously, and then I'm spending I think 2.5 hours this afternoon at the Emberheart booth. So I don't know what they'll have me doing, whether it's demoing or doing interviews or media, or I'm not sure what it'll be.
Signing some copies,
that sort of thing. So yeah, I think today is sort of Emberheart Day.
Okay.
And then tomorrow I think is Suricata.
Oh, that worked out quite nicely.
Yeah, that's kind of how I did a bit of Flipbit hours yesterday. Emberheart today, Suricata tomorrow. That's kind of the plan.
And I didn't. Did I ask? Have your prototypes been getting good reception in your meetings?
They've all taken it. So I had 4 meetings yesterday. They all took a prototype.
Okay.
Each of them took one of the games. So yeah, I was happy with that. I made a mistake in the very first pitch of the day. I didn't follow my own advice. I didn't stack the deck. So as a result, I hadn't even shuffled it. And so I dealt out the cards, and the guy I was pitching to had a particularly dud hand of cards, and so he played it, very politely played it, and then said, look, I didn't really feel like I had any choices there. And I didn't feel able to say to him, well, you were unlucky, let's try again, because then it just sounds like an excuse. I just had to kind of suck it up and go, well, yeah, but that's fine. Thank you for your feedback. But I did come out of there kicking myself, thinking if I had just stacked the deck to make sure that he got a nice mix of cards with some nice options in there, then I think maybe the meeting would have gone a different way. But I might be kidding myself. He might not have liked it anyway.
But it would have given you a better chance.
Yeah, and it just proved to me that advice is right. I've always said stack the deck, and actually I've noticed that that's what Osprey have done with Flip Towers. That we haven't even got the full deck there. We've got a portion of the deck, and it's got a good mix of cards, so that in that, if you give a 10-minute demo, they're seeing all the nice moments that they might have in the game, and I think it's a good way of pitching something.
Matt says, definitely not moaning. We're not moaning. Okay, it's just another interesting facet of games that face of things that face game designers. Adam, were they all hi-fi prototypes from Launch Tabletop?
They weren't this year, actually, mainly because they need very specific types of components. One of them uses card sleeves, which are going to need to be printed on. And so that was hard to prototype. So that's just, I made that myself with sleeves and acetate, print sticky acetate to stick on the front of the sleeves and so on. So I couldn't use Launch Tabletop for that. The other one is an abstract strategy game that needs very specific pieces. So for that, I just bought a bunch of like cheap old games, like charity shop type games, and used the components from that to throw the prototypes together. So I'm a huge fan of Launch Tabletop and what they make, but it only really works if you're making something that uses fairly generic components, tokens, cards, dice, pawns,
standard wooden
counters,
pieces, sort
boards.
of thing.
It's great. They can do custom size boards. You can make whatever size board you like. You can adjust it as much as you like. The box you can adjust as you like. So there is a lot of flexibility there. There's a lot of different sizes of cards and stuff like that, but it doesn't work so much if you're going for something which has a unique component in it.
And you made how many copies of each prototype did you bring?
I tend to bring, I usually would aim for 50%. So if I've got 10 meetings, I'll bring 5 prototypes. That's usually what I do. I work on the basis that 50% of the publishers are going to take a prototype. was a bit overconfident this time. So maybe I think I've got 10 meetings for one of the games, and I think I bought 8 prototypes. I still think I might get rid of them all.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. But I just have a feeling that the game's interesting enough that they're going to want to look at it at least.
Yeah.
That's my gut feeling. The other one, I brought 3 prototypes, but I only really had maybe 5 companies that I wanted to show it to, something like that. Okay. I don't think I'll get rid of all 3 of those. But we'll see.
Okay, interesting. No, I don't. I used to make more copies of prototypes of a single game to possibly give out, but I've really gone towards just making 1 copy now, and then I either mail them out after the fair or I send print and play files, because I think I got to some point where it just felt like I was making lots of copies, and even just carrying them around and all this sort of thing was getting too much. And most publishers are pretty happy, like a good percentage of them are happy to print and play things now. I mean, of course, if you have a very specific component, then that's a different question, but my games tend to be pretty standard.
I just want to give the best possible chance that they're going to play it.
Yes.
So just handing it to them, we've just had the meeting. There you go, take it. Sometimes they'll even get back to me and say, the next day, and say, I played it last night in the hotel. It's that immediacy that I'm looking for. But it is an extra effort, and it is a hassle transporting them.
But if it works, then that makes sense. Another question: what's the rate of offers you see from publishers taking a prototype? So, like, as a percentage of prototypes given, how many result in a contract or an offer?
1 in 10, maybe a little more. Maybe no, I'd say 1 in 10 seems fair on average. For Ember Heart, I had several offers. For Flipbit Towers, I was heading that way, but I took. Obviously, you don't know how many offers you're going to get because you accept an offer, and you don't know how many of the others that are interested would have offered, but you didn't give them the chance.
Do you not give the other publishers that you've given? So my way of doing it these days is that if I've given a prototype to multiple publishers and one gets back to me saying they want to publish the game, I'll let all the publishers who have a prototype know. But one publisher is interested in publishing it. You've got some specified period of time, 2 to 4 weeks, to get back to me, and then
depends. If the publisher that's offered is the publisher that I really want to go with, then I'll just tell all the others, I'm really sorry, it's not available anymore. We've had an offer, and they're always very pleasant about it. You send a polite email to them, they send a polite email back.
But in the case of where you're not quite sure,
if I'm not quite sure, and there may be other offers, then yes, I might give them. I might say, right, I'm going to make a final. I'll send an email. I'll usually word it something like, thank you very much for your interest in the game. Just to let you know, I've had an offer on the game. Out of courtesy to all publishers that I've shown it to, I'm going to not make a decision on it for a month, but I'm going to make a decision on this date. So if you would like to progress with the game, please let me know by that date, and then that's when I'll be making the decision. So I try to give them a very firm deadline, I have done that with other games in the past.
And so you've had to make a decision between competing offers before for a game?
Yes, I have. Yeah, definitely. One of the worst experiences was it was my first signed game. It never came out, but it was signed. Was it ever signed? Yes, no, it was signed. It was signed to Libelud at one point, and they didn't make it in the end. They were great. Libelud was fantastic. There are ways of turning a designer down that are unpleasant, and there are ways of turning a designer down that are great, and Libelud could not have been better. Had a big advance paid, and they gave me loads of useful feedback, did development on the game, told me I could use that in the future, and so on. They were great, but they did turn it down. But before that, I showed the game to lots of publishers. It was my first time pitching. Actually, if you go back in my channel, I probably made a video like this, debriefing on it at the time and being all excited about it. The game was called City Rollers. And I had a meeting with a publisher that I really wanted to work with, and they were really excited about it. And then I had a meeting with another publisher that I didn't really know, and they offered very quickly. And I didn't really want to accept the offer because I wanted to wait for the other one. And so I sort of tried to put them off a little bit, and they got really they weren't happy about me making them wait. And so they declined then. They said, well, yeah, we won't make it then. at that point. So I lost it. And then, of course, the ones that were really enthusiastic, they didn't want to make it either. And in the future, then, thankfully, Libela did want to make it, but then that didn't work out either. So, yeah, ultimately, I lost all confidence in that game as a result of just a series of offers, things turned down, and so on. And I just, in the end, I thought, I've spent so many months on this game. I think there's a point where you're, what's the phrase, where you're cutting your losses. You're just like, well, I've put a lot of time in, but you don't want to completely sink more time into it.
Yeah, I mean, reflecting back on that, is there something you would have taken out of that whole experience?
That's where we talked about it yesterday, didn't we? I pitch in batches.
Oh, yes,
ever since then.
So that was the real change.
I definitely don't. I don't pitch. I pitch to the publishers I want. Then I pitch to the publishers that I know less. And I'd still like to work with them.
Yeah, but you're not waiting for someone else at that point.
No, so I don't get into that situation where I've got. If somebody makes an offer, I want to be in a position where I'm delighted, not where I'm thinking, oh, I'm not sure about this publisher.
Yeah.
Which is, again, why I never do, or very, very rarely would I do designer speed dating things, because those events are becoming more and more common, I think. Actually, Essen, it didn't happen this year, but they're quite common now at conventions. I don't really like the idea of just putting my games out there for all the publishers to look at, and then they come to, because I don't want to be in a position where I've got to turn down a publisher and say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not choosing you. I never wanted to show you the game in the first place. That would be really awkward. So I like the idea that I pick which publishers I show things to.
Yeah, of course, the other flip side of the coin is that you can kind of never know, and actually showing it to as many publishers as possible, of course, increases your chance that you will get an offer. So yeah, I don't think there's any one right or wrong way to do things.
No.
And you end up having your own system and
absolutely.
And then the speed pitching I think if you're a beginning designer, I think the speed pitching can be really helpful because you potentially get to meet a lot of publishers, you get a lot of contacts, especially if you've made a game which is good, but maybe not a good fit for publishers. They at least see that you're a serious designer, you can make good games. And that can put you in good stead for future things.
For sure. I'm absolutely not saying that other people should do
what
I do at all. I remember speaking to Sebastian Bleasdale years ago. Sebastian's a very good designer. He designed Keyflower and many other games. And he only ever pitches a game to one publisher at a time. And then he'll wait for 6 months or a year to get the feedback before he pitches it to another publisher. So it's a very slow process, but for exactly that reason, he doesn't want to get into any sort of conflict and have to choose between and so on. But that's a very slow process at that point. So I don't do that.
Yes,
but I do limit the pool of who I pitch to.
That makes sense. We're probably going to have to wrap it up soon.
Should, yeah.
There's one last question. What's the rate of... Oh, no, we've already done that.
We've done that one.
Okay, well, I think that's it for comments. But, well... Thank you, everyone. Oh, well, so it's your... I was like, I should just...
It's my channel today.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll
Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Thank you, Matthew, for giving up your apartment and suggesting that we do these live streams. So, yeah, we'll do it again tomorrow, I guess.
Think so,
and we'll do it on Matthew's channel. So please do check out Matthew Dunstan's YouTube channel.
Link down below.
Very similar sort of content in terms of talking about different aspects of design. But obviously Matt's got his slant from his many experiences. So he'll give you new takes that I haven't been able to offer.
We'll have to do some video where we just disagree with each other, like
I'm sure there are things that we probably
I'm sure we do. I mean,
take the same approach on, but yeah. And we've got different situations.
Of course.
Full-time and part-time and so on. But anyway, thank you all for watching. We will hopefully see some of you again tomorrow.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. All right.